Hey, everybody, welcome back once again to Retro Wrestling. I'm your host, Gene Jackson, and we are back here once again on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, all the different places that you check out podcasts. And I'm excited about this week's episode. I'm excited not only for the guests that I have, but the topic that we're going to be discussing. So let's don't waste any time. Let's get right into it. Let's welcome my guest this week, Bay Ragni, aka Mr. Chubby Dudley. Sir, how are you doing this fine evening?
Hey. Thank you, Gene. I'm stoked to do this with you.
Man, I'm really excited to talk to you, and I'm really excited. We are in the home stretch to TWA's one and done. You and
You
Joel
see how
Goodhart
red my face is?
you and Joel Goodhart have poured yourselves into this event. And I know at one time it felt like, oh, it's way in the future. We got a lot of time. And man, it snuck up on us. You know, when you first announced this, May 3rd, 2025, sound like a lifetime away. But here we are, man. We're just less than a couple of weeks away. Tell me about this process, man. When did you and Joel decide that it was time to come back?
Can we stop the process? It literally, it's scary because he approached me about all this back in late April, early May of last year. And it took a couple weeks to get me on board. And the big reason why I finally said yes was because he said, we're going to do this in a year in advance. So we have a year to put this together. And the fact that you said it came up quick, like it felt like it was taking so long until we hit the holidays and the new year. And it's been now warp speed, and time is not our friend. And we're a week and a half away, and game
Well,
on.
I mean, you know, I know that you're heavily involved in all aspects of this, and my goodness, let's just okay. So first of all, this isn't just the one and
You ask
done
the
wrestling
questions, and
fest.
I'll give you the answers.
You know, a wrestling event in itself. I've promoted a handful of wrestling shows, and I know what all goes into just putting together a card and booking wrestlers for a card one evening. And that's not enough. You guys are booking a convention, which is a whole different animal, a whole nother. I want you people to look at this. If you're watching this on YouTube, and if you're just listening, that's great. But go back and watch the YouTube. Look at this poster right here. Look at all these guys. These guys have had to wrangle. And look at some of these people who are on here. And you know, it is literally the word wrangle to make this happen.
A whole lot of wrangling's been going on this past year. Uh,
But I
you know,
mean, everybody who's been anybody in the Philadelphia wrestling scene in the past 30 years, you guys have reached out and got, man. It's amazing.
well, it's funny because um, throughout many of the highs and lows of this last year, putting this all together, and throughout the conversations with Joel, whether they've been conversations or arguments, um, you know, the bottom line is this is about Joel and the TWA. But it's hard not to include, a lot of the ECW stuff because
Yeah.
if it wasn't for Joel and his original partner Carmella and that whole starting, which morphed in the TWA, which literally was the foundation and groundwork for what ECW became. My exact words to Joel one day was, he's like, this is not an ECW reunion. This is a TWA reunion. And I said, Joel, but the part that you seem to forget is when you closed up shop and you went away and went into hiding for 18 years, 90% of your locker went on to ECW and became something.
Yeah.
So you can't have one without the other. And he just went silent and let out a big sigh and then a fuck you.
Yeah, I mean they're not mutually exclusive, right? I mean one
Yeah.
goes hand in hand with the other.
And that's the thing I don't think a lot of people do understand. Of course, a lot of the true hardcore Philadelphia fans, they know. They know who Joel Goodhart is. They know what the Tri-State Wrestling Alliance is. They know the four guys that we're going to pay tribute and honor that night by raising a banner in their name. Johnny Hotbody, Tony Stetson, DC Drake, and the late Larry Winters. Those names were as big as, you know, the Cactus Jacks, the Eddie Gilberts, the what became Sandman, the Shane Douglases. Like all those four guys were the true forefathers of hardcore wrestling. They, along with Joel's brain and his matchmaking, along with Larry Winters, they put that foundation together.
Yeah.
Another thing that me and Joel will comment back and forth about, and he knows and realizes it, and either I'll say it or he'll say it. He'll beat me to the punch, and that punch is, now I know why you went out of business the first time, because it's so easy to let things get away from you, because you just start, well, how about this one and how about that one, and next thing I know, we're getting off the phone and he's calling people and making deals. And then he's like, all right, we got this one. I'm like, well, wait a minute. We didn't come to a complete agreement. So it's been interesting and it's been fun and it's been a lot of laughs. There's been some tears. There's been some screaming. And at the end of the day, there's going to be an amazing tribute. There's going to be the release of Joel's book. We've already started filming the documentary. There's going to be a lot of filming that day. There's going to be a fucking amazing show in honor of the Tri-State Wrestling Alliance. And there's going to be closure for a lot of people. And it's going to be a very emotional night. It really is, because we got together back in October for a day at Joel's, and a bunch of the guys, and it's the first time a lot of us saw each other in 30 years. Yeah. And it was a very emotional day, day. And we all took a turn talking and explaining what this meant to us and what Joel meant in the TWA. And there wasn't a dry eye in the house. Literally every person in that room, and there was just 20-something of us, spoke, and every person shed tears as they spoke. And I don't think it's going to be any different that night.
No, absolutely not. It's other than you're just going to have a ton of fans who have those same memories and those same emotions. And I grew up. I live in Alabama now. I grew up in Mississippi, so I only was able to follow TWA through the magazines. And followed it closely and was like, man, I wish I could see this. I wish I could get to these shows. And eventually, when I got into tape trading, one of the very first things I was like, I got to get these TWA shows. I got to see these.
Yeah.
And so, I was very excited to get those. And that's one thing that kind of bothered me. Here a few years ago, it's been several years ago now, we went through this ECW we had the hardcore homecomings and the ECW one night stands, and there was a lot of nostalgia for ECW. And a lot of those guys, they got their flowers and they got a lot of attention. And it did kind of make me sad that TWA was kind of lost in all that. And guys like Johnny Hotbody and Larry Winters and like you said, the forefathers and the godfathers of hardcore wrestling, especially in that area, really didn't get included in any of that. And I didn't think that was fair. So, for this to come around and these guys to finally, to be honored with the banner and this show that is a real TWA show, like you said, closure. But before we get there, before you close any books, man, the night is going to be it's going to be a night to relive that and remind everybody, like, hey, you love ECW? Well, if you weren't around for it, this is where it came from. Let us remind you where this all started.
I mean, I'll tell you now, and I've been saying this all along. I've been honored. You know, Joel from the get go. He gave me the book. He let me he gave me Larry Winter's position for this, and he let me be the booker. And there's times he'll step on my toes and try to do things, and then at times he'll turn around and go, "It's yours. I'm not going to interfere." I'm like, all right. The way I have this show booked, and I literally sat down again the other day, and I have this show mapped out to be a roller coaster of emotions. There's going to be highs, there's going to be lows, there's going to be holy shits, there's going to be surprises, there's going to be a lot of fucking pops, there's going to be a lot of fun, and like I said, there will be a lot of tears shed throughout the night. So if you miss this fucking show, don't come crying to me. And don't, please don't message me. Don't text me. Don't call me and ask me for fucking tickets. Please. Don't do the same, and don't ask for a spot on the show. The show's been booked for 6 months. Yeah. No. You know, 2300arena.com. Get your tickets. Okay? Everybody's got to go buy their tickets. That's it. There's no freebies. I'm sorry. This show is a top dollar show, top notch show, and it's a moment in Philadephia and professional wrestling history. This show is going in the history books, bar none. Mark my words. You want to be there. You want to be part of this. You want to share any emotions, and you want to be part of the documentary. And you want to get Joel's book.
Yes, I certainly do. You know,
especially
I'm going with.
You want to especially read the last chapter because it's called "It's All Chubby Dudley's Fault." So I can only imagine how bad he curses me out in the book.
You know, I'm going with Doug and Tommy and going to help them run their table and everything. But man, I'm excited just as a fan to get to finally see a lot of these guys in person that I've only read about and seen on video and everything. And it's you know, there's a time that none of us could have imagined Joel Goodhart resurfacing and running a show. You know, there's a time that you would have never got anybody to believe that was a thing that could happen. But here we are. It's getting ready to happen. But one thing I was going to say, and I want to see if you co-sign this. You know, you were saying, you know, hey, don't call and don't ask for free tickets and don't harass Joel when this is over on when's the next one, right? Because you know, there's people. Somebody's watching this right now going, bullshit. If it draws, there'll be another one next year. There was many ECW one. There was more than one ECW one night stand. But you guys, I got the feeling you guys mean this. This isn't a marketing ploy. We got to get everybody in there, so let's tell them there won't be another one.
Yeah, no, we are actually, and trust me, many people have said they don't believe it. And Joel has actually, he has said to me, and he's said to a few others, if anybody wants to restart the Tri-State Wrestling Alliance, I will sit down with you and give you my blessing, you know, after we talk. I don't want it. I don't want to do it. I don't want, after this, no. I know Joel wants no parts of it. And actually the plan is at the end of the night, after the last match, we are doing a 10-bell salute for the Tri-State Wrestling Alliance. It's dead. It's done. Closing the fucking doors. That's it. This is the official goodbye. Joel's been probably wanting to do this for 30-something years, and now he's making it happen. And you know, see this. I could unleash tears right now. Just the thought of you know, Doug and Tommy. I'm so happy we have them coming. You know, but I wish Eddie was so fucking important to this. You know, Eddie and what Cactus did, that was That feud, and I saw all their matches, changed my life. Absolutely changed my life. I had no, when I saw them work that feud, that's when I really knew. Like I was already training, but I said this is what I want to do, and it was because of those two. And another huge influence of mine, who, thanks to Joel, became a very good friend of mine, Buddy Landell, who was another part of that original Memphis Mafia. It fucking kills me that Budro's not here. Man, I fucking love that guy. I fucking love that guy to death, man. We spent a lot of time together. He did a lot to help me in the ring and training, and really stuck up for me and helped me. And I'll never forget that fucking guy.
Yeah, I wish those guys could be there. We recorded an episode of Doug and Tommy's podcast last night, and this week's episode is called "Somebody Say Something About Philadephia," and we're talking about kind of Gilbert's and Tommy Rich's history in Philadelphia through TWA, ECW, WCW, all the different promotions. And
NWA with Dennis.
Yeah, exactly. Doug talked about that a good bit too. And
I was there
kind
for
of
all
pointed
that.
out to those guys that, that, and a lot of people, don't get me wrong, a lot of people give a lot of credit to that Eddie and Cactus feud, but it drew a lot of attention to, to the area, and it did a lot for Cactus's career. A lot of people say that's how he went back to, WCW, and it got Eddie a lot of attention, where kind of people were like, oh, okay, Eddie's, he's got a whole other side to him that maybe we forgot about while he was over here in WCW with teaming with, Rick Steiner and doing the First Family and things like that. We forgot that he's got that side. Eddie can, he was in the damn concession stand brawl too, so.
That's right. That's right.
So that's awesome to hear how much those guys influenced you and made you want to do this. And I know you
and then you get fired by Eddie too. A funny story. Like, I was one of those guys that got carried over to that early ECW, and I was there for that opening stretch. And then when Eddie came in, I did the first two set of tapings, and I can't remember if it was the first set of tapings we did or the second set, but I mean, you look back at those old original TV shows of ECW, the first shows, we sucked. We fucking sucked. It's all, go on the WWE network. It's there for in living color. We sucked. And I understood, later on as I got older and I watched the stuff, and I'm like, oh man, we were bad. But Eddie fucking snapped out one night in the locker room, cursing us all out, telling us we suck. And if you want to be on TV, you better fucking learn to work real quick. And I just remember, like, I'm a 22-year-old kid. I'm like, here's one of my idols fucking screaming at us. I'm like, oh, fuck, welcome to the wrestling business.
Yeah. But, that's back in those days, guys would do that sort of thing. The veterans would do that. And guys could either suck it up and go, man, he's right. I got to work at this. I got to make myself better. Or they go home and cry and they get out of the business. And that's what the business was built on. They either beat the shit out of you and ran away the people that didn't need to be there, or they berated them until they took it seriously. And I think that's a lot of, not to turn this into one of these podcasts, but that's a lot of what's wrong with a lot of the indies today, is like, there needs to be some Eddie Gilberts back there cussing some guys out, and some guys getting stretched in the ring and run off some of the people that shouldn't fucking be there. But
hey, man,
you took it to heart, and you took it for what it was meant to be. You didn't go, I don't want to do this anymore. Eddie was mean. You're still putting him over on a podcast all these years later.
Fuck yeah. He was right. He was absolutely right, And I mean, in wrestling school, we had classes where it was chop classes, and you had to stay in the corner, and you had to keep getting chopped until your chest busted open. And if you flinched, forget it. You got it fucking twice as bad. And everybody there would just take a turn all night long until you started bleeding. Yeah, and they, exactly like you said, they tried to break you to see if you would come back the next day.
You had to earn it. You had to prove you deserved to be there, and I think there's something to be said for that. But we live in a society that You can't do that anymore, but like I said, that's a whole other podcast. We're not here
Yeah,
to
right.
piss and moan.
Let me know when you're going to do that one.
We'll schedule that one after I'm in June, maybe. But I know we're here to talk about One and Done, and we're going to talk some more about it. But my friends who love ECW and TWA and everything would not let me live it down if I had Chubby Dudley on the show. And I didn't talk to you a little bit about. Tell me about the early days of the whole Dudley family coming together, and kind of how that came together, and what your memories of that, as far as what the concept was and where it ended up going.
The funny part is I don't even know. I was never consulted on anything or asked anything. I would literally just show up and they would just say, bring food. I'd show up and get there. We'd hang out in the dressing room, have a good time. We would talk shit out with whoever we're going out and working. And it was Chubby, take a chair shot. Chubby, go through a table. Chubby, take a super bomb. And that's what I would do. Yeah. And then go back in the locker room and hang out and then go to the party at the hotel afterwards. And that was my routine. There was never, the meeting of the mind discussions on stuff like that. That usually happened, I've heard, like, in car rides back and forth from New York with Paul or Dreamer or Taz, because Bubba was in with those guys. So, Bubba was involved in that stuff. And then when Devon came in, it was like, and then this was, this is how the thing shifted. Like early Eastern Championship Wrestling, when Eddie was booking it, we started as Philly was the home base. And then Eddie came in, and then little by little, you saw the shift of some of the Memphis influence and Memphis people coming up. And then out went Philly guys. Well, then when Paul took over, it was the same thing, but it was even more the Philly guys were going, and now the New York guys were coming in, which, right. It happens in every business. When there's a new manager running a company, they're going to bring their people in. So I was at that point, I was brought back in because I went through wrestling school with Stevie Richards at Joel's. And when the Dudley gimmick started, it was the first three, which was Dudley, Little Snot, and Big Dick. And I think after the first set of tapings, Little Snot was in a car accident or got hurt or something. And that's when Richards called me up and said, "Hey, we got this Dudley gimmick. Have you seen it?" And I said, I saw it and said to myself, "Holy shit, I look like these guys." And he goes, I think you would be perfect for it. He's like, "Come up this weekend. I'll introduce you to Paul, and let's see what happens." And I met up with them at the hotel afterwards, and I was talking to Richards in the lobby, and Paul comes walking up, and he before he even introduced us, Paul goes, "Holy fuck, another Dudley." And Richards is like, "This is the guy I was telling you about." And Paul's like, "Do you have a tie-dye?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "Get a tie-dye. I mean, what does your gimmick want to be?" And I always wanted to do a gorgeous Jimmy Garvin gimmick. I wanted to be beautiful Bay. And I said to him, I said, puffing the hair out, "Studley Dudley." He's like, "Yeah, not going to work. You're Chubby Dudley. Come back next week with food and a tie-dye, and let's see what you do." And that's how it started.
Wow. Good stuff. Good stuff. Oh, man. So, Joel to stay removed from wrestling, and I've heard him in some interviews. I know Joel didn't follow it. He didn't keep up with ECW, and he kind of removed himself from wrestling. Has he since gone back and watched any of it? How does it? I mean, I know he doesn't love it or even like it necessarily, but he hasn't come around to watching any of it, really?
You know what? The scary thing is he just watches TWA and older stuff. That's all he'll watch. Like, even when we were at his house in October, there was at one point he was in his living room by himself watching a TWA match. And I said to our guy Ryan, who's the promoter for ECWA, which is now based out of Jersey, he's the guy doing the documentary. And I said, "Ryan, look at that. Get that fucking shot from behind." And he was like, yeah, and he got it.
Nice.
But that's all. Joel does not like ECW. He's pissed off about ECW. And I get it. Like I would be too. Like that was his baby, and other people took his baby and ran off with it and blew it up. So,
and never really gave him any credit.
No, he got no credit. And the scary part is, if he would have had TV, it could have been completely different. And that was the whole key to ECW. They had the TV, which started putting them on the map. And then from when they threw the belt down and turned extreme, it was such just perfect timing in that era, because it was the whole extreme era. It was all extreme sports, extreme this, extreme that. So to turn it and do what they did, and literally, there's a reason why 30 years later, people are still watching it. They're still chomping at the bit about it. I've done more interviews even before this TWA thing, but the year leading up to it, I've done more interviews about ECW in 2024 than I even did, the prior 5 years probably. It's come back around again big time. And people, you still hear it on WWE TV. He's hardcore, or ECW.
It put its stamp on the business forever. Like I was in college, like in 95 and 95 through 97. I was in college, and it came on Sports South, where I was at, like 1:00 in the morning on early Saturday morning, Friday night. So we would all get back to the dorm, like, we got to watch, we got to check out this ECW thing. And by that age, we were getting to the point, and then, WWF and WCW was starting to evolve, but we all got to the point where, like, we've kind of figured out the format of this wrestling shit. You can kind of figure out the ebb and flow of a match, and the heat and the shine and the this and the that. Mm-hmm. And even though we weren't 100% smart because the internet wasn't completely, taken over yet, but we just were like, it's all right. We're starting to figure this shit out. And this ECW just turns all that on its fucking ear, like, the rules don't apply. And that made it fun because it wasn't predictable. My God, you'd have 27 false finishes. Like, this is it. No, it's not it, And it made wrestling
prime example
fun.
was WrestleMania night 1. The big swerve finish with Paul turning on Punk and Roman. As soon as I just started laughing, I'm like, what a motherfucker. Because that was Paulie's fucking hand and writing all over it. Typical fucking ECW finish. Nobody saw it coming. And Paul always said, never give them what they're expecting. Give them the opposite, because they'll never see it coming. And that's what he did the other night.
And he was never afraid to make himself, seemingly in and out the ring, never afraid to make himself as disreputable as possible. The last thing the man says before the show, he's like, I will never betray Roman Reigns or CM Punk. And at that moment, I look at my wife and I go, that don't bode well for those two. And by the end of the night, he's holding up Seth Rollins' hand. It was great, man. Like, not to get on a big WrestleMania kick, but if you could have took the main event of night 1, swapped it for night 2, night 2 would have been an amazing show, and you could have just left night 1 in the dust.
Absolutely.
Night 2 was great till you got to the main event, and that main event was just, it was rough. And that was the one I was really looking forward to. But that main event the night before and night 1 with those 3, and then Paul being involved, just excellent. But
they deliver.
Another podcast for another day, I suppose. But,
We'll return after these messages.
Hey everybody, Gene Jackson here, inviting you to check out the Retro Wrestling Review, where each week I'm joined by some great co-hosts who help me review classic episodes of USWA Championship Wrestling, and right now we are doing week-by-week reviews of 1993. But we don't just do reviews, sometimes we get a chance to interview some of the people who were there and lived it, plus do watch-alongs. It's a lot of fun, so check out new episodes that drop every Wednesday at WrestleCopia.com. And to find links to everything associated to the podcast, you can go to uswapodcast.com.
Jackson, Tennessee, get ready for a night of non-stop laughs at Cody's Sports Bar and Grill. On May 10th at 7 p.m., we're bringing some of the best comedians in the area to the stage. Tickets are $10 at the door, but why pay more? Grab yours in advance for just $7 at codyscomedy.eventbrite.com. Great food, cold drinks, top-tier comedy. What more could you ask for? This event is 18 and over, so make sure you bring your ID and your best sense of humor. Comedy at Cody's Sports Bar and Grill, May 10th, 7 p.m. in Jackson, Tennessee. Be there.
So let's talk a little bit about you. You know, you said that it was pretty much you were handed the book on this one, and man, you have gone out and you have created an awesome mix of the guys that are still. Let's face it, it's been a while since TWA, so it's not like a lot of these guys are still out there wrestling every weekend. So you have found ways to implement the TWA talent that can still go out there and be involved. And then you have found some of the top independent stars of the day. And man, you have booked some pretty amazing matches that people aren't going to want to miss. Let's talk a little bit about some of these matches that you've made for the one and done event.
Take your pick. Pick a match.
I don't know the particular match order. I don't know that you've given that away. So I'm just going to go the order that they popped up in my in my computer here. So let's go. We got Tessa Blanchard versus Samantha Starr, and we've got special guest referee Heidi Lee Morgan.
Now the funny thing with this is, when I was thinking about things, you know, because again, trying to keep that TWA touch and tie-ins there, and I was like, oh shit, I saw a thing that you know, as old matches are getting shared, I'm like, Tully worked for Joel. And then when we were putting things together for the convention, Joel says to me, he goes, I'm gonna get hold of Baby Doll worked for me early on. I'm like, oh, okay. And then I was like, Terry Gordy also worked for Joel. All three of them, their daughters, are now out there. Why don't we do a three-way dance, second generation of the girls? So that was the original plan, but we were on a holding pattern with Samantha, Baby Doll's daughter, because she has a contract with NWA. So we were like waiting on NWA to give us the go-ahead. Yeah. NWA gives us the go-ahead, and a couple days later, Terry Gordy's daughter, Miranda, had to pull out because she has a winery, and she's got a special event that day that she said normally is the end of May, and they moved it up to the 3rd. So we lost Miranda. So we still have Tessa and Samantha. And I said to Joel early on, I said, we got to have Tully and Baby Doll in the corners. I said, there's just, the options are endless. And he was like, I don't know. And then he books Baby Doll. I'm like, all right, well, what about Tully? He's like, not going to do it. He's like, I already got Rick. He's like, I got, there's too much. I'm like, all right. And then like 3 weeks ago, he texts me, can you talk? So I call him. He's like, all right, I got good news. I'm like, okay. He's like, I just booked Tully. I'm like, the fuck? He said you weren't booking no more. He's like, I couldn't pass it up. He's like, he called me up and I couldn't tell him no. I'm like, all right. So I'm like, are they going to be in the corners? He's like, I don't know. I said, okay. I said, well, here's the thing I do know. I said, both of them are the parents. Both of them inquired about the matches. They don't want to go on record saying if they're going to be at ringside or not yet. So I know as a parent, if my daughter or son are in the ring and I have the option to be ringside in a historical event like this, I'm going to be ringside. That's my thinking. So we won't know till that day.
But I mean, you
So
look
I
at the
literally-
history between Tully and Baby Doll, then now their daughters are out here wrestling. I mean, my goodness.
Come
you know,
on, right.
Look at
Yeah.
the history there.
And I'm gonna go on record and say this, and actually, me and Joel have said this. We both feel Tessa Blanchard is probably one of the top 3 to 5 workers in the business today.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
without question. I've got to see her wrestle in person a few times before, and that's definitely one of the matches I'm certainly looking forward to for sure. Because I've seen some footage of Samantha Starr, but I've never seen her wrestle in person. So to see those two square off, and then you got the whole aspect of Tully and Baby Doll are there. Then you got Heidi Lee as the referee. So just a lot of fun aspects to that. A lot of layers.
Absolutely.
Let's see what we got next here. We've got the TWI Alumni Lumberjack match, Tony Stetson's final match of his career. The Hitman, Tony Stetson, taking on the boss, Michael Tartaglia.
Yeah.
Tartaglia. There we go.
So actually, these guys back in the old original days of TWA were tag team partners. Tartaglia was known as Mike Bruno then. And Stetson, like Joel pressured Stetson into doing this tag team. He didn't want to do it. He hated it. It's always been an ongoing thing for 30 plus years. Fast forward 2008, Mike Tartaglia decides he wants to start promoting wrestling shows, and gets hold of Joel, calls Joel and says, can I make this the TWA? So technically he restarted the TWA, but it was nothing like the true Tri-State Wrestling Alliance. It was very geared towards children. It was the exact opposite. It was everything Joel did not stand for is what it became. So what he did then, he turned around, and the ECWA out of Delaware with Jim Kettner, which is a very legendary promotion, Jim Kettner approached him about buying that promotion, and he did. Right. So he turned around and technically unified things, but dropped the TWA name and just made it. So he killed the Tri-State Wrestling Alliance again. So we were not expecting Stetson to wrestle. We were starting to put the card together. We had about half the show together. And Stetson called Joel and said, I want to wrestle. I want to work. And I was like, oh, then Joel called me. I'm like, shit. I'm like, are you serious? Like, he hasn't worked in, it's over 10 years. And he's like, I want one more match, and I want it to be against Tartaglia. He goes, I want to get him, and I want to pay him back for what he did to the Tri-State Wrestling Alliance. So I said, well, to make it even more interesting, we might as well surround the ring with the TWA guys. Right. Because all the TWA guys can't stand Mike Bruno. I've never met a more hated guy. So we're going to have the Tri-State Wrestling Alliance original alumni and some other friends of us will be surrounding the ring for that match.
Wow. That is going to be something. Again, layers, man. It's not just like, hey, we threw these two guys in there, so we thought it'd be a good match. Like there's a lot there. So definitely looking forward to see. I mean, TWA show, the Hitman Tony Stetson in action, and then all of the TWA guys.
Stories behind everything.
Awesome. All right, so what did it pull up next here? We have got a triple threat, ECWA triple threat match. Clutch Rockwell versus Darius Carter versus J.D. Luscious. Look at these guys, man.
So the story here's the story behind this. So ECWA, which is now owned by Ryan Cavanaugh, who's doing the documentary on Joel and the Tri-State Wrestling Alliance. My original booking plan was, and this is what I presented to Joel. I said, look, we don't have a TWA. We don't have a locker room. We don't have any talent to choose from. So why don't we do this? Why don't we turn around and take the 3 top promotions in the area, one representing each state, PA, Jersey, Delaware, and have them give us a title match. This way you have 3 title matches from the 3 top independents in the area. Well,
like a showcase.
Right. So ECWA, boom, right on board with us. We're like, of course. So we got ECWA on board, and I started reaching out to others, and they didn't want to do it. And the deal was, and the funny part is, the deal is, you give us the match, you book the match, and we're paying your talent. I don't see what the laws.
Am I missing something here, Bay?
I was told by one promotion that also runs the arena that they don't do nostalgia. They're changing the face of professional wrestling. But yet they do a yearly ECW reunion show. I don't know. Maybe I'm fucking stupid. But,
Okay.
All right. Thank you, but no thank you. So, ECWA, we are very close with them. We love them, and we are proud to showcase them. And actually, Darius Carter was their champion for 2 years. He recently lost the belt. So this is pretty much like a number 1 contenders match for the belt.
Right on. That ought to be a good one to check out. And now we got another ladies match here, the Bell to Bell Showcase match. Special guest referee, WWE Hall of Famer Medusa Alundra Blaze Michelli. And it's going to be Notorious Mimi taking on Gabby Ortiz.
So that match, again, kind of falls under that same chapter of the booking where Bell to Bell is run by Missy Sampson, who I've known for 30 years. She's an old fan of ECW. She used to work for me when I promoted shows under Liberty All-Star Wrestling. And she ended up training under like Mike Keener and a lot of other boys in the area, and became this tremendous worker and brain for the business. So last year, she started a women's promotion that runs out of the Monster Factory in Jersey. So I said to her, she was actually one of the first people I called. I said, hey, we're putting this show together. I would love to have a bell-to-bell match. The girls, let's face it, the girls are blowing the guys away most of the time. And this past weekend, prime example, that 3-way dance opening night and night 2 was one of the greatest matches I ever saw in my life.
Absolutely.
So she said, all right, I'll give you a match. And she did, and she's given us, it's now a title match. So Gabby Ortiz is the champion of Bell to Bell, and she's facing Notorious Mimi, who at one time was an NXT worker. She had a contract with them and all. So this is going to be a hot match. And Medusa is TWA alumni. So I said to Joel, perfect way, again, to tie in the Tri-State Wrestling Alliance, Medusa, the women.
The word legend gets thrown around too much sometimes, but I mean, is there a bigger legend of the women's wrestling than Medusa? These two ladies, to get to go out there and wrestle on this big show, but get to do it with Medusa as the referee right there in the ring with them. I can't imagine how excited they are for this opportunity just all the way around. And, Medusa, who once teamed with Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert in a mixed tag team match there at TWA, and actually through TWA is how they met, and had a short marriage at one time, and who Doug Gilbert calls his favorite ex-wife of Eddie's. leave it at that. So
there's only 2 going to be there that day. Missy will be there too.
Well, we'll just move past that. The next match on the card, the South Philly Street Fight TWA Heavyweight Championship, and this is going to be the final match of Breaker Morant's career as Breaker Morant takes on Chris Wilde.
It's funny because this match was the one match and the ECWA match and the girls match that I did not technically book. It was given to us. This match was the only match when we started putting together that Joel said, I want this match on the show. It's the only match I'm asking you to put on the show. This is what I want. I said, okay. And I've known Breaker for 20 plus years. He worked for me 25 years ago when I was promoting early, very, very early in his career. But when I stopped promoting, I pretty much did a good heart and shut the door and walked away from the business because, as my fiance now knows for the past year, when I get involved in this fucking business, I go nuts. It makes me crazy. So I've never seen Chris Wilde work. I haven't seen Breaker work in 25 years. And these two guys have become two of the top guys in the Philadelphia area. And in all honesty, I didn't even have any interest in the match just because it wasn't something I booked.
Yeah.
So, but now it's probably the match I'm most interested in because Chris Wilde has started voicing his displeasure. And I have to agree with him because he turned around and he said, Joel Goodhart wanted this. Joel Goodhart has not shown us any respect. Joel Goodhart is not promoting us. He's not promoting that this is Breaker's last match. He's not promoting this is a TWA championship match. Turns out Breaker was the longest reigning TWA champion under the Mike Bruno days. And the second longest reigning champion was Chris Wilde. So it's all like, as Wilde was saying, he's like, you're showing videos of Ric Flair. You're showing videos of Mick Foley, who's not even going to be there, saying he wants to be there, but he can't be there. You're showing videos of everybody else who's having a banner, who's doing this, he's doing that. He's like, well, we're wrestling on the show. We're the main event. We're going for the TWA belt. Where's our flowers? Nobody's giving us our flowers, so we're going to take the fucking flowers, and we're going to show you why we deserve them. And he put that video out, and I was like, I called Joel. I said, well, I kind of feel like a dick. I said, because he's right. He's absolutely right. I can't even dispute or argue him. He's right. And I told Chris, I said, number one, I'm sorry. And number two, you've piqued my interest. Now I want to see your match.
There you go. These two guys, again, every match has stakes. Every match has, a story, and there's their story. These guys are coming in with chip on their shoulder with something to prove now. Not just, hey, we're going to go have Breaker's last match, but now it's going to be like, we're going to tear the damn house down. We're going to steal the show and show that you guys screwed up, not making us the focus in Breaker's last match. So,
right.
Yeah, man. And I'm glad you're able to share that with everybody here on the show because now I'm more interested than I was 5 minutes ago. So
yeah, totally
very awesome.
And it's for, when I didn't even find out until I think when we were at Joel's that day in October, and Breaker was telling us that they were the two longest reigning champs. So then the light bulb went off, and I said to Joel, I said, it only makes sense. We got to make this for the belt and crown the last. This will be the forever, TWA champion. That's it. You win the belt. You are the champion forever now.
Yeah, it's like that thing Cena's threatening where he says, I'm going to take the championship and I'll be the last one, and it ends with me. Well, this is literally, we all know that's bullshit. It's a story, but this is really happening. Whoever walks out of this match with the championship, they are the last real TWA champion, and nobody will ever be able to take that claim away from them. So
that's it.
High stakes, man. High stakes. And so next up, we've got an old ECW favorite, Super Crazy, in a no gimmicks match taking on Hannibal the Death Dealer with Gentleman Jack Kilby in his corner.
This match, there's so many stories to this match, and the crazy thing is, technically this whole thing started on Hannibal TV because Jack Kilby was doing an interview with me a year and a half ago, and I'm sitting here drinking a glass. At that point, I was probably drinking quite a few glasses of wine. And Jack's an old true TWA fan. So he started asking me all these questions about TWA and Joel and everything. And I just ended up, because I had just seen that there was going to be a banner raised. And I'm like, well, they had nothing to do with true Philadelphia wrestling. What is going on here? So I went on a tirade, half shot in the ass, about that we need to pay respect to the forefathers, the true, the godfathers of Philly wrestling. And then other interviews started to ask me about it. There was like a buzz going about it, and then people kept asking, and then it started gaining steam. And then Joel started calling me. He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I don't know. People keep asking me. I'm going to keep pushing it." and then I started the petition, and that's when Joel was like, people started signing the petition, and Joel's like, I don't believe people are really signing this. I'm like, yeah. So, and we finally got the deal worked out with the arena. They said, if you get 1,000 signatures, we'll raise the banner. And we did. So that's how that happened. But in the meantime, Hannibal wanted to be on the show, and we've formed a nice working relationship. They've been very supportive and helping us with the show and doing weekly shows, promoting it and everything. So Hannibal and Jack are on the show, and everybody knows a lot about Hannibal and his hardcore styles. And I was like, who the hell could we get that would be extreme? And I mean extreme, because it's when it's with Hannibal, it's going to get crazy. So I'm like, oh, super crazy. Why not? So, this is the one match that truly, like, it has no true ties to TWA, but it's just going to be a wild, crazy TWA style match. That's the tie to it. And people are like, what the hell is a no gimmicks match? Well, it's just that. There's no gimmick. There's no rule. There's no nothing to it. You're in the ECW arena. Go at it, guys.
Make it happen.
That's it.
There you go. I mean, Super Crazy definitely has a history there, and Hannibal is right up the alley of the Philly crowd, so should be a fun one for sure.
And I truly never, when it comes to Hannibal, I never met a person that's so hated in the business. That people have a
lot of people do that impression in dressing rooms all over.
Dude,
I've heard that quite a bit. Oh yeah. He's got a lot of heat, man. I don't know.
I've had so many people message me about him, and the funny thing is too, I also have a lot of people who have been tremendous and helping out and doing interviews like yourself, and they'll be like, "Oh, well, give me a bunch of the roster, and we'll do a bunch of interviews," and they all say except Hannibal.
Oh shit! Oh wow, that's funny. That's good though, man. That's hey, if people just tune in to see him get beat up by Super Crazy, they're still buying a ticket, right? They're still getting buying a DVD or whatever their means of taking it in is. So.
Hey guys, Ray Russell here, curator of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network, inviting you guys to listen to many of the programs here as part of the WrestleCopia brand, including, but not limited to, the Wrestling Memory Grenade, currently covering the 1988 and the WWF project. You can also listen to the Regional Wrestling Podcast, where we talk the territories. You can also listen to the Wrestling Stoop with the legend himself, Bob Roop. But that's not all. You can also check out the Puro Wrestling Academy with the professor of Puroresu, Mr. Dan Ginnity. Dan and I go back in time and cover the history of Japanese professional wrestling in the English language. And you can listen to all of those shows and more, all part of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network, located over at WrestleCopia.com. That's WrestleCopia.com, and anywhere your podcast streaming needs are met. So if you're looking to support that next up-and-coming podcast brand, please consider making it WrestleCopia.
Hey, it's Bob Smith, and guess what? The Outdated Wrestling Hour is now part of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network. But hey, no fear, you're still going to hear the unique guests, comedy, music, authors, journalists, funny people. Who knows who's going to end up on the Outdated Wrestling Hour? Remember, it's all new and all old. So check it out in the WrestleCopia Podcast Network and wherever you get your podcasts. Listen if you know what's good for you.
Hey guys, this is Wolfie D from PG-13. Check out my podcast, Live and in Color with Wolfie D, every Monday at noon. We're talking Memphis, we're talking ECW, WCW, WWF, everywhere that I've been. We even have some great guests, some Hall of Famers on the show with us. Every Monday at noon, Live and in Color with Wolfie D.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling, the podcast that's based on the old school, but can still help you find the good stuff from today. Jimmy Street and the Plastic Chic, Jared, are the undisputed tag team champions of the wrestling podcast world. From thought-provoking topics to superstar interviews to action figure expertise. This team does it all, and all they ask is, give me back my pro wrestling! Every other Thursday, wherever you listen to podcasts.
Looking forward to that one as well. Here we go. Here is a Back to the Future match. We got the Rock and Roll Express, Ricky Morton, Robert Gibson, along with Kerry Morton, Ricky's son, who's been tearing it up on the indie scene for a few years now, taking on the Backseat Boys, Johnny Cashmere, JP, and Tommy Drake.
Tommy. Yep.
Tommy. There we go.
JP and Tommy
Terrible
are brothers. So back in my days of promoting 25 years ago, the hot team on the indies was the Backseat Boys. It was Johnny Cashmere and his old partner, Trent Acid, who sadly passed away in the late 2000s. I guess about 3-4 years ago, Johnny came back to the business and restarted this gimmick with the Grayson brothers, and they've been tearing it up, and they're now also part of Juggalo Championship Wrestling, a big part there. And I love Johnny. We always had a great friendship and relationship. Very, very, I always thought he was a very good guy. And again, putting this together, I was like, man, we need to pay respect to one of the greatest tag teams of all time. And I thought, what a way to do it. They announced this is their last year. They're done after this year, Ricky and Robert. So I said to Joel, why don't we do like a yesterday and today match? The best of what's out there today on the indies versus the best of yesterday, the Rock and Roll Express. So we were able to put this together, and because Johnny manages them and Johnny can work, and Kerry's out there with them guys too. I'm like, it just makes sense. Let's just make it a 6-man tag. So That's what we're going to do. We're paying respect to the new and the old talent.
I went to a show with Doug in Mississippi a couple weeks ago, and Doug teamed with Ricky Morton, and man, he still got it, man. Ricky's still Ricky. He's still a lot of fun at the gimmick table, and he still can get it done in the ring. And of course, Kerry continues to impress all over the world. He's former junior heavyweight champion of the NWA, and the Rock and Roll Express, right? And then like you say, the legend of the Backseat Boys in that area. That's another one that I'm really excited about, and I think will really turn some heads. Of course, I saved these guys for last, and I may be missing a match. I think I grabbed all the graphics. I may have missed one. We'll double back. But, of course, the match I'm looking forward to the most, my boys, the Memphis Mafia, Wildfire Tommy Rich, and Dangerous Doug Gilbert, taking on Team Extreme, the franchise Shane Douglas, and a mystery partner in the TWA Legends Tag Team match.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait for this fucking match, boy, because – well, again, when we were in our discussions, Joel was like, I think I'm gonna reach out to Doug and see about him and Tommy if they're available. I was like, okay. And then the wheels start turning, and I'm like, all right. Yeah. And the way I book things, like, usually I'm pretty good with it, and I have it in my head, and I'm already like, oh, that'll work. That will fucking work. That'll work. So that's how this match came to be. Because the funny thing is, Joel talked to Doug, and I guess he talked with you, and we got everything situated and confirmed. And I said, all right, well, here's what we're going to do. And I told Joel. Joel was like, oh, okay. Again, because it's Team Extreme and it's ECW, he really don't. He's like, all right.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm trusting you. I'm like, trust me. So the only people that know who the partner is, the mystery partner is me, Joel, and the mystery partner. That's it. Shane doesn't even know. Yeah,
that's awesome. That's old school as hell right there, man.
Absolutely.
That's how you make sure shit doesn't leak. Nobody knows. They can't say. And I didn't know if the guys were just kayfabing me or not, because they keep saying, we don't know who it is. And I'm like, well, if you do know, don't tell me. Like, we don't know. We seriously don't know. The running joke on our podcast, me and Doug keep saying, hey, Doug's jumped out of the crow's nest, so it's your turn this time, Tommy. You're gonna have to dive out on Shane or whoever that partner is.
I was half tempted to ask Doug to bring the Dark Patriot mask if he has it.
For old time's sake, I've got one of those laying around here. I may sneak it in my bag and be like, hey, if you need it, pull the old Brunzell and Brian Blair in this one if you need to. But man, that's gonna be a lot of fun. Of course, Eddie's history there. Yeah. Doug even came in and interfered in the cage match that night against Cactus, and Bam Bam Bigelow got involved. And then, of course, Tommy was like on the very first TWA show, or maybe wasn't even officially TWA, but one of the first shows that Joel ever promoted, he was telling us. And, of course, Tommy's history with the full-blooded Italians there in that arena. He's excited, man. He's both those guys, but Tommy especially, as we were talking last night, so excited to get back there to Philly in general, and to be there at the arena. They've never got to team up as the Memphis Mafia in Philly before, so it's going to be fun.
The thing is, too, like, and somebody said this to me the other day, and I have felt this way for years. Philadelphia and that building is the mecca of professional wrestling. And Philadelphia just, they love and respect the boys, the girls, whoever it may be, and the business. And guys, when you have, Memphis royalty like Tommy and Doug, who, let's say, when's the last time they were there? I mean, Tommy's done some shots at the arena over the last couple of years, but Doug hasn't been there in how many years?
Since the early 90s. I guess since he was out there with JT. That last time in that scaffold match they had. But and I've watched those guys in the Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis a lot of times, and that to me, I thought, well, it don't get any better than this, because I grew up, in Mississippi. But I always, all those years of me and my buddies sitting in the dorm watching those ECW TV shows and all that stuff through the years, I'm like, man, I wish I could go to Philadelphia and go to the ECW Arena, but I guess it's just never going to happen. And so now to get to go,
I was saying, meanwhile, I wish I would get to go to the Mid-South Coliseum.
we could have swapped out at some point. We'd both been happy. But yeah, man, to get to go to the ECW Arena, and not just for because I thought, well, if I ever get to go, it's just gonna be some random ass indie show now, or what these weird conventions that Feinstein or somebody does or whatever. But to get to go to something like this, that's going to be historic. It's so memorable, and then get to see my buddies have a match there. It's on the last ever TWA show. I'm psyched. I've never been to Philadelphia, so we're going to do the whole thing. We're cheesesteaks and ECW Arena and the whole 9 yards. And Tommy swears he's going to make me run up the rocky steps when we get there, but I don't see that happen. I said we may do a light jog up those steps.
Just walk. Trust me. It's funny. I was there back in. I went back in August for for ECWA reunion show in Delaware, and I took my fiance with me, and she's we both were in Nashville now. We moved here almost 6 years ago. She's from Brooklyn. I'm from Philly, so I took her to Philly for the first time, and we went there, and if you're a first timer and you're not in shape, don't try running them.
I'm not in shape. If I stood up right now, yeah, that would be Chubby Dudley look like Scott Steiner compared to me these days. I'm pushing 50 and I'm about 360. So no, we're not running up anything. Me or Tommy, either one. Yeah. We'll walk up them and eat our cheesesteak when we get to the top, probably.
There you go. There you go.
But yeah, man, I'm excited. Folks, make sure you get your tickets for the RassleCon. I mean, look at that lineup there, folks. My goodness. There's literally somebody for everybody. I mean, if there's not somebody on that poster you're dying to meet, you're not a damn wrestling fan, right? I mean, it's an amazing lineup. It's absolutely a lot of people, they promote things and they say, oh, it's going to be huge. And then you see like, all right, well, maybe there's one or two people there that somebody might want to see. But I mean, you look up and down that poster and what a lineup. And here's the thing that stands out to me, Bay. Over the years, I've gone to a lot of conventions, both just as a fan, but then also being at booths, with different people for all these podcasts I do and all this shit. Such reasonable prices, dude. Y'all have, I mean, I'm not trying to ruin it for anybody. It's too late for them. They can't go jack the price up now, guys. We're too close. But man, you guys almost undersold yourself on the prices. It's very affordable. It's very fan friendly. Everything I've heard about this convention to me sounds like one of the most fan friendly conventions that I've heard of. And so, if you folks have never been to one, or if you've kind of stopped going, you're like, fuck, these things have gotten too expensive. I can't do this anymore. This is the one you want to go to, because Bay and Joel and everybody else who possibly involved have put together a great lineup with very, very reasonable ticket prices. And speaking of that, Bay, you can see here on the screen, if you're watching this, tickets are available at 2300arena.com, and they're available. Get on there. Don't wait till the day of. Get on there now. Go ahead and lock your tickets down and know that you're set. But it's a ticket for RassleCon, and it's a ticket for one and done, right? We got to have one for each. So make sure you do that.
The tickets for RassleCon are $20 in advance, but if you're going to wait till the day of the show, you will pay $25 at the door. But one and done tickets will not go up at the door.
Like I say, if you guys have priced tickets for any of these other conventions, you can't beat that. That's amazing. And yeah, I mean, you got to pay once you get in there for different people.
Yeah.
At most of these places, I mean, they're charging ridiculous price just to get your foot in the door, and then you got to pay for everything on top of that. Saturday, May the 3rd, 2300 Arena, Philadephia, Pennsylvania. Bell time is going to be 7:30 for the event that night, and RassleCon that we just spoke of going to be going on from noon to 3:30. So go ahead, go to 2300arena.com, get those tickets now, and I look forward to seeing everybody there. I know Bay looks forward to seeing everybody there, and you can go and meet your heroes of the past, the present, and some from the future right there at the 2300 Arena. Any last minute push here, Bay, that you want to lay on folks to really, really talk them into the building, if you will?
When you come, bring a box of puffs. Be ready. Sit on the edge of your seat, because you're going to be jumping up and down with that box of Kleenex. This is it. This is truly the WrestleMania of indie wrestling for 2025. This is it. This is, in my opinion, the biggest indie show of the year, the most important indie show of the year, the most historical indie show of the year, and it's happening at the most historical wrestling building in the world.
Nothing we can add to that. That sums it up. And Bay, it's been a pleasure talking with you tonight.
Absolutely.
I look forward to meeting you in person in Philadelphia. And folks, thank you for joining us for another episode of Retro Wrestling with Gene Jackson. Join us again here next week. And remember, 2300arena.com. Get your tickets